Hey there, folks. Gather round, because boy, do I have a story for you. It's about a guy named Simeon. Fierce, protective, and well, let's just say he had a bit of a temper. Picture this. A land far away, where the sun paints the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. That's where our story begins. Now, Simeon was one of 12 brothers, all sons of the wise old Jacob. But Simeon, he stood out like a redwood in a forest of pines. Tall and powerful, with thick black locks and eyes that sparked like embers, Simeon was a force to be reckoned with. But here's the thing about Simeon. His heart, it was as big as the ocean. He loved his family deeper than the roots of an ancient sequoia. Simeon had a sister named Dinah. Oh, he loved her something fierce. You might say he was overprotective, but hey, that's just how Simeon rolled. All the fellas in town would turn their heads when Dinah walked by, but Simeon kept a watchful eye. Maybe too watchful, if you catch my drift. One day, something terrible happened. Prince Shechem from the neighboring land did Dinah wrong. And let me tell you, Simeon's anger, it was like a wildfire in the dry season. Now, Simeon had always been quick to act, like a lightning bolt striking a tree. But this time was different. Without thinking twice, Simeon and his brother Levi grabbed their swords and, well, let's just say they made some pretty rash decisions. They stormed into Shechem City, their anger burning hotter than the midday sun. And when the dust settled, the city was in ruins. At first, Simeon felt like a real hero. He thought he'd protected his sister's honor, like a knight in shining armor. But when his dad found out, oof, Jacob's disappointment was heavier than a Pacific Northwest rainstorm. You see, Jacob knew something Simeon hadn't figured out yet, that violence only breeds more violence, like a never-ending forest fire. Years passed, and Jacob gathered his sons for one last chat. When he got to Simeon, his words were as sharp as a pine needle.
Simeon, my son, your anger is too strong. You use your sword for violence, and that is not the way of wisdom. Your tribe will be scattered among the others.
Now, that hit Simeon harder than a crashing wave. He realized that being brave wasn't enough. He needed to be wise too. As time went on, Simeon's tribe became smaller, mixing in with their brother Judah's folks. But you know what? They never stopped being warriors. They fought to protect the Most High's people, but this time, they did it with wisdom and restraint. It was like they'd learned to harness the power of a river instead of causing a flood. So, what can we learn from old Simeon? Well, for starters, it's good to take a deep breath before you act. Count to 10, like waiting for the tide to come in. And remember, being passionate is great. It's like the engine of a boat. But without a rudder to guide it, well, you might end up on the rocks. Most importantly, Simeon's story teaches us that no matter what mistakes you make, there's always a chance to do better. It's like replanting a forest after a fire. It takes time, but new growth always comes. Simeon's legacy reminds us that our past doesn't define our future. It's the choices we make today that shape who we become tomorrow. That's the story of Simeon, folks. A tale of fierce love, hard lessons, and the power of second chances. Now, isn't that something to think about? So next time you feel that anger bubbling up like a geyser, remember Simeon. Take a deep breath, think it through, and choose wisdom over wrath. And who knows, maybe your story will inspire others, just like Simeon's has inspired us today. Now that's what I call a happy ending. Shalom, friends. May your journey be as transformative as Simeon's, and may you always find the strength to choose love over anger.